Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar this evening. We're delighted that you have all joined us. So welcome to our Form 5 students and their parents, and especially welcome to Dr. Chen Mien Wee, who is the Director of Pre-U Studies at Sunway College. And we also have Nicole Chong. Welcome, Nicole. She's the Central Regional Manager for AUG. So the objective of tonight's webinar really is to sort of help our students and their parents to navigate some of the choices that they're going to have to make after their IGCSEs with us. So about half of KTJ students from Form 5 go on to our sixth form. So we really want to make sure that students are making good decisions as to where they go. And one of the things we talk a lot about in KTJ is the best fit. What is the best fit for you and your child after your IGCSEs? So a little bit of background. We've in KTJ been working with AUG for many, many years, almost as long as KTJ has been going, I think, right, Nicole? Very long time. And basically they do all of our Australian applications. And many of our students go on to Sunway College as well. And we have very good relationship with Sunway. We do lots of events together as well. We kind of co-support each other with things. And I think it's important that Sunway is here because they have a huge range of courses that you can do if you've decided that A-levels are not the right path for you. So we're going to hear first from Dr. Cheng. And she'll do a presentation about 15-20 minutes. And then Nicole will do a presentation. And the two dovetail quite nicely because you might do pre-U with an Australian program and then go to Australia afterwards. And then if you have any questions, please do type them in the chat and then we'll answer your questions as well. All right, so over to you, Dr. Cheng.
Thank you very much, Emma, and my co-speaker, Nicole. Welcome to all students and parents. Just call me Auntie Mien. That's what most students call me. I'm going to share my slides now. And if you see two of me on the screen, I assure you they are the same persons. For some reason, I think I've got another picture on. Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, this evening, I have the pleasure, to share with everyone here what are some options after IGCSE, for most of you in the audience. But if you have nieces and nephews or cousins who have done the SPM, this talk would be the same or, as relevant as well. So I guess the question that most of you are asking, particularly my young friends, my dear students, is are the following. You could have more questions than the 4 that I've posted here. So feel free to type in your questions because Emma, Nicole, and I will be happy to address them later. So your questions may be, I've been reading about pre-U and foundation and diploma. How are they different? And which pre-U is easier, I remember when I was, your age as a O-level student or an A-level student that, I don't want to stress myself too much. Is there an easier option? Many of us, myself included, we constantly ask whether I would do better in a program that is assessed purely through assessments or coursework. Do I do better in exams? How do I select which program fits me best? And I'll also talk a little bit about the entry requirements so that you know where to focus on and where your results could take you. Okay, so broadly speaking, my dear friends, after the IGCSE or O-levels, really, there are very many options. I will focus on pre-U and talk about the different pre-U or foundation pathways available through Sunway College. And some of you might be interested to look into some options at the public universities. The difference between pre-U or foundation and diploma really is about 2 main reasons. Firstly, it may be the results, your results. To enter a pre-U pathway, the local requirements is that you need to have 5 O-level credits. Whereas if you're slightly short of that, if you have got 3 credits, then the diploma pathway is how you will continue with your academic studies and still get back into a university program or track, because you then enter with a diploma, you enter with 1 year advanced standing. The diploma also has the option of allowing you to specialize in an area that you are interested in. And so you basically zoom into your area of interest, and specialize or work after your diploma studies. My dear friends, some of you may already know what you want to do. And for example, if you're thinking of becoming a chartered accountant, you could, from your IGCSE or O-levels, go straight into a professional accounting program. You can see from the slide here that after finishing your pre-U or foundation, your diploma or your professional accounting, you basically move into a degree, an undergraduate equivalent program, either at university or through a professional pathway. At Sunway College, and you'll see a picture of that in my virtual background, we also offer the American Degree Transfer Program, whereby, my dear friends, you are already in an undergraduate program after your O-levels, and the entry requirement would be that 5 credits. Yeah. So in this talk, because of the time that we have, I'm going to focus essentially on the pre-university options, although if you have got questions about the diploma, I'll try to answer them if I can, as well as the American Degree Transfer Program. I will focus on 5 options available. The first 3 options to the left of your screen, which are the AUSMAT, Australian Matriculation, CIMP, the Canadian International Matriculation Program, and the IBDP, the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program. These 3 qualifications are globally recognized. You can go anywhere in the world. You can continue to study in a Malaysian private university, or you could go to different parts of the world. The difference would be the AUSMAT clearly is an Australian Year 12 program. Our AUSMAT comes out of Western Australia, and so you will be awarded the Western Australia Certificate of Education or WAES. If you have got friends or relatives or cousins in Perth, Australia, for example, this would be the exact program they are doing as you are doing in Malaysia or with Sunway College. The duration of the program is slightly less than a year to slightly more than a year, 10 to 15 months. And the students, my dear students, you might like to know that the assessment is a combination of continuous school-based assessed work as well as a final exam that adds or that contributes 50% to your final grades. And that final exam is a written exam at the same time, on the same day as your friends in Western Australia, in Perth, for example. The second option you have is the Canadian Grade 12 program. And just like Australians' education is state-based or provincial, it's the same in Canada. And so our CIMP program comes out from the Ministry of Education in Ontario. And so it would be the same curriculum, same assessment as your friends, your cousins, for example, who live in Toronto or Ottawa. Okay, so it's the same program that we run. And at the end of the day, you get the Ontario Secondary School Diploma. So if you look at the second column on your left, that's the CIMP. The duration of the program is between 9 to 15 months, so slightly less than a year to slightly more than a year, depending on when you join Sunway College. And interestingly, my dear friends, the unique part of the Ontario Secondary School Diploma is that it is 100% based on continuous assessment. It is 100% internal, meaning it's 100% carried out by your teachers at Sunway College, and it comprises 70% continuous work, so you're constantly on the go and abreast with your schoolwork and learning, and another 30% comes out of a written test set by your teachers. It's 100% internal because by regulation, and we are a licensed Canadian school or Ontario school, we have Canadian teachers and a certified Canadian principal that runs the program, and hence we have the autonomy we are allowed to run the internal assessments fully. Your third option of just going anywhere you like, if you haven't decided on where you want to go, would be the IB Diploma Program. It's a very interesting program. People think it's challenging, but really it's a program that gives you the breadth and the depth for studying at university. Many universities would consider a student with IBDP as having done something equivalent to first-year undergraduate work. Yeah, so there are 6 subject areas, and most students, because there are 2 language groupings, either English, which is the language of instruction, so everyone takes English, and a second language, which you could take as an introductory language or something that you can advance to a higher level. If you get a good score of above 3 in both language categories, you get what we call a bilingual IB diploma, which is very well regarded and very much welcomed, especially by top-tier universities and in competitive programs. And of course, you've got the humanities in the third group. The fourth group would be all your sciences, your physics, your chemistry, your biology, your math, and again, you can do also the visual arts, which is our offering at Sunway. Just for your information, the IBDP is delivered out of our Sunway International School campus and not at the Sunway College campus. It's a 2-year program, and the assessments are partly internal and partly external. The internal component is about 20 to 40%, but the results are moderated by IB so that you have that global recognition again, and a final exam that is set by the IB. So that's the options that we have for you, where you can just, not worry about where you want to go first, because these 3 qualifications, the OSMED, the CIMP, and the IBDP, is recognized throughout the world. The other 2 programs that I have mapped for you on the right 2 columns are university foundation pathways. So my dear friends, these are programs that universities have created for students who have more or less decided that they want to go to that university, and so it guarantees students who meet their entry requirements a place in that university. So the MUFI program stands for Monash University Foundation Year. Meeting the scores of Monash University for the program that you're applying to does guarantee you a place. We call it a non-discipline specific foundation program in the sense that a science student can take subjects from the arts and vice versa. Of course, you've got to meet the entry requirements in terms of subject preparation and readiness. It's a program that's approximately slightly shorter than a year to 1 year. Foundation programs, I would generally say, are 1-year programs. It's an internal program with 70% continuous coursework and a 30% from a final written exam. Similar to Monash University, Sunway University also offers its foundation programs. We name it according to 2 pathways, the Foundation in Arts and the Foundation in Science and Technology. Our students, aside being guaranteed a place in Sunway University, our data shows us that the students do very well, very many of them. As a matter of fact, 1 of every 2 first-class honors students from a dual degree program with Lancaster ends up with a first-class honors. So that goes to show the level of preparation they have for university studies. It's again a 1-year program. The assessments are fully internal because it's a foundation program of the university, 50% from ongoing coursework and 50% from your exams, a written exam. I hope this outline gives you more or less a feel of the different types of PreU programs. Again, I'm happy to walk you through more details. I'll share my contact details later and we can talk some more if necessary. I'll just very quickly, therefore, repeat a little bit of what I've said so that it sort of sinks in. So the Australian matriculation program, if you're concerned about assessments, is 50% internal, 50% external. The good part of the WACE program or OSMED is that we allow students to take their marks from the top 4 subjects out of 5 in the calculation of their ATAR, which is the Australian Tertiary Admissions Rank. And so if you did the SAM, for example, you still have to calculate the ATAR, but with WACE, you can choose the top 4 subjects or the best 4 subjects. In the case of the CIMP program, I've just explained that it is a globally recognized program with the curriculum from Ontario as well as the certified teachers from Canada. There's a strong focus on developing cross-cultural understanding. Community service is a very important and interesting part of the program. Students have to fulfill community service hours as part of the requirement to obtain the Ontario Secondary School Diploma, and that mirrors as well the philosophy in the IB Diploma. Totally internally assessed by your teachers who teach you, continuous assessment being a key feature of the curriculum. So you're constantly abreast with your work. The IB Diploma program, as I've said, is globally recognized, very much welcomed by universities because of the breadth and depth. all students are, when you finish the IB Diploma Program and you're in your first year, you will feel that you're really ready for your university studies because you've done also the reflective essays, the theory of knowledge, which is an introduction to ways of thinking. Yeah, and so this is a program that I would highly recommend, the first 3 programs, if you have not decided on where you want to go. If you have decided on which universities you want to go 2 or 4, the university foundation years make a lot of sense. And in Malaysia, in Sunway, we are the only, Sunway College is the only provider of the MAFI program, and that gives you assurance not only to enter Monash University, all its campuses, whether in Malaysia or Australia, but it's also fully recognized by all other Australian universities and New Zealand universities. And my colleague from AUG, Nicole, will give you more information as well on that. So I've spoken about the assessments, and so I'll just go to the Sunway Foundation program, which is the foundation in arts and the foundation in science and technology. Again, your assessments are a combination of coursework and written exams, and they're fully assessments are internal, meaning you are assessed by the teachers who work with you. Okay, so I think I'd like to just spend maybe the last few minutes talking about why choose Sunway. There are many reasons, but I think for me, you would want to look at the track records, maybe give some consider the scholarships that are offered, the overall development that we talk so much about, because it is who you are at the end of the day, and that makes universities interested in giving you a place. And again, Miss Emma, for example, is a wonderful source of guidance on that. So really, it's about who you are and where you want to go. So in terms of track record, I will very quickly again share that with the Australian Matriculation Program, you can see here from 2016 to 2020, students have done well. They achieved an ATAR of more than 80, which means that you have a very broad selection of courses at university that you can look at, as well as scholarships that you can apply for. The Canadian International Matriculation Program, again, you can see from the results that I'm sharing with you that a large number of our students, more than 50% on average, graduate as Ontario scholars, which means that you achieve an overall average of more than 80%, and which means a straight A in the Canadian system. And again, your options in university studies would be wide. And the IB Diploma Program, we just commenced this program in 2017, so we are about the 4th cohort of students writing the exams, and I'm very pleased to share that from the very early days, 100% of our students have obtained the full IB diploma, and all students, 100% of them, progress to university, to very good universities, and in each subject area, in each of the 6 subject areas that I mentioned just now, they score above the global average. So do ask me more about the IB diploma if you're interested. The Monash University Foundation Year, again, is a program where not only do students do well, as you can see from the table, they also qualify for scholarships, which I think is very important, because it's not that you need the money, for scholarships, but it really sets you apart in terms of your profile, in terms of your resume for university application, for internship, and everything else. And again, last but not least, the University Foundation Year program at Sunway, students again qualify not only first-class honors student, first-class honors category, but also in terms of progressing into university studies with scholarships from Sunway University. The scholarships are a very important part of studying at Sunway because we are part of the Jeffrey Chia Foundation. Please find out more about our academic scholarships, our sports scholarships, so on and so forth. I just want to share with parents and students that, as I've said, it's not about the quantum of money that we need or save. It puts us in a different, it profiles us differently. It sets us apart from others. But I don't shy away from a savings of 20,000 or 40,000. I often tell you, young students, make a deal, with your parents. If they can, if they have set aside this sum of money for you and you have saved it through your scholarship, maybe you can use this money for something else. Yeah, give it to you for you to decide. So again, please ask us about our scholarships. Needless to say, we are an institution, just as KTJ is. We believe in developing students holistically. At the college, we have a very wide range of clubs and societies. Come and visit our campus. I know that right now traveling may be a little bit of a concern, but do let us know. I can assure you that when you look at the FIFA field, I don't play football, but I constantly do my walks on the field. Yeah. Our teachers are experienced. Many of them have been with the program for as long as the program, which is more than 30 years. I won't say more. And again, I think the other part about that I would like to share with everyone here today is about our teaching approaches. And it's about preparing students for university. Because, my dear friends, it's not just COVID or the pandemic that has put us online. At Sunway College, we had already been embracing blended learning, which is to incorporate learning using the virtual space, online learning, online portals together with our face-to-face, because it's about learning in the 21st century. So I'd really like to say that our students are well prepared for university when they get there, because they are familiar with the learning approaches, the different learning approaches. Last but not least, as I wrap up, the journey of pre-university is a short one. Yeah, it's 1 year with us, or 1.5 years with us, or a little bit more. And at the end of the day, we have our university placement services, our guidance component, all in place so that we can work with you from day one in terms of where you want to go. Yeah, so there's a full-time university placement team that will be working with you in terms of selecting universities, bursaries that are available in universities, preparing your personal statements, and everything else. Okay, so I'm really pleased to say that over the years, Sunway PreU graduates have gone to universities across the world, and I'd really like to say not just the western parts of the world, but also the eastern parts of the world, going into top universities in Singapore, in China, in Japan, and so on. Okay, and so I think with that, thank you very much. I hope I've not taken up more time than allocated. Welcome. Please feel free to join us anytime on the campus, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you. It was interesting, actually, because some of the things you talked about were themes that we discussed. Miss Susan and I, who is our higher education counsellor, were talking to our Form 5 students in their mentoring last week. And we were saying, you know, the decisions that you make rest on things like exams or assessments. And you could really see that with those different courses, the different way that was important for some. Exams are definitely not the only way to assess people, and some people I know are absolutely brilliant but really don't like doing exams, so that's an important consideration, this idea of breadth and depth as well. You know, some of those programs are very broad, and if you're not sure what you want to do yet, sometimes having that breadth is quite useful. Obviously, grades are important. You were talking about different entry points that you have there. And if you know where you're going as well afterwards, so if you know that you want to go to Canada, then maybe the Canadian program is a good stepping stone. And also, I like the point about the curriculum as well, the different philosophies that you have in those curriculums. So there were a lot of the things we were talking to the students about. So it was lovely. You could actually see those themes coming out. So thank you very much. That was great. Okay, Nicole, so are you ready to share your slides?
Yep.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Okay,
let me just share my slides. Okay. Yeah, good evening, students and parents. How are you today? So I'm glad to be here today. To share some of the information on study in Australia with you. So the highlight for the talk today includes introduction to Australia education, tuition fee and living costs, education pathway, application procedure, scholarship, and so on. All right, here we go. So I think Australia is no stranger to any one of you. So has anyone been to Australia? If yes, maybe you can type yes in the chat box or where you have been. Okay, so Australia is a young and energetic country and always listed as one of the most livable countries in the world. And the capital of Australia is Canberra. Of course, the biggest city is Sydney. There are 6 states and 2 territories in Australia, which is Western Australia, South Australia, New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, Queensland, Australian Capital Territory, and Northern Territory. And the flying hours between Malaysia and Australia is about 5 to 8 hours. And we do have direct flight to Australia, such as Malaysian Airlines and AirAsia. Okay. So next, let's have a look at the weather in Australia. So the weather in Australia is actually the other way around from the Northern Hemisphere. This time of the year, which is December to February, is our summer in Australia, and March to May is autumn. June to August is winter, and of course, spring will be September to November. All right, and this is the time zone. So basically, in Australia, we do observe daylight saving in some of the states. For example, for Australian Capital Territory, New South Wales, Tasmania, and Victoria, from 3rd of April 2022 to 3rd of October 2022, we have to turn back the clock by 1 hour, all right? Whereas, on the 2nd of October 2022 to 2nd of April 2023, then we need to advance the clock by 1 hour. So now it's about 8:30 Malaysian time. So in Australian Eastern Time at the moment, basically it's 11:30 at night already, okay? So Western Australia, Queensland, and Northern Territory do not observe daylight saving, okay? So some students will ask me, why do I study in Australia? What is the advantage of studying in Australia? Here are some of the facts for your reference. At the moment, we have about 20,000 Malaysian students are studying onshore at the moment. And of course, Australia education has the international reputation for quality and excellence. And Australia have a multicultural society. Students with a student visa are able to work up to 40 hours per fortnight. And what's more, because of the current situation in Australia, they are really in need of manpower. They are also have temporarily relaxed the working hours, whereby student does not have this restriction to work in Australia at the moment. Okay, and as I mentioned just now, the flying hours between Australia and Malaysia is only 5 to 8 hours. So Australia, compared to other countries such as the UK or the States, we are really close to Malaysia. And students also have the opportunity to live and work after the completion of courses, okay? And at the moment, there are 70 universities in Australia are listed in the top 100 universities in the world. And according to the most livable cities in world 2021, we have 4 cities listed in the top 10, which including Adelaide, Perth, Melbourne, and Brisbane. So now let's have a look at Australian qualification framework. Okay, so here, Australian institutions offer various of courses ranging from pre-university, undergraduate, postgraduate, vocational studies, and so on. And this coming next will be, these are the university in Australia. Okay, Australia have 43 universities, and besides the university, there are many institutions also provide higher education courses as well. Australian institutions provide a wide variety of courses, which includes life sciences, social science, engineering, health science, design, law, and so on. And most of these courses are highly ranked in the world ranking, such as engineering, medicine, environmental science, accounting, and finance. Now, let's have a look at some of the popular group of universities in Australia. Okay, so the Group of 8 University, I think this is no stranger to anyone of you as well. So this Group of 8 University comprises Australia's leading research-intensive university. And the Group of 8 University is focused on and a leader in influencing the development and delivery of a long-term sustainable national higher education and research policy, and in developing elite international alliances and research partnership as well. And their members includes the University of Adelaide, the University of the Australian National University, the University of Melbourne, Monash University, University of New South Wales, the University of Queensland, the University of Sydney, and last but not least, the University of Western Australia. Okay, and next group of university we have here is so-called the Australian Technology Network. Okay, the short form will be ATN. ATN brings together 5 of the most innovative and enterprising universities in Australia, and the member including Curtin University, RMIT University, University of South Australia, University of Technology Sydney, and Deakin University. And the ATN is recognized as a global leader of a new generation of university which focus in industry collaboration, real-world research with real-world impact, and produce work-ready graduates to become a global thinker in business and the community. All right. And of course, here I have prepared some of the photos, for of our beautiful campuses in Australia. And what you can see here is actually the University of Western Australia. And the second photo will be the laboratory in University of Western Australia. And this is University of New South Wales and Murdoch University. As you can see, in Australia, our weather is really good. During sunny days, student likes to hang out in the ground. And probably you wouldn't see it that much in Malaysia because Malaysia is really hot and humid. But when it comes to Australia, it is really a cozy, weather whereby, during lunch break, the student like to just hang out on the ground. Okay. And next, of course, this is the iconic building for the University of Sydney. And next we have the University of Melbourne, a beautiful traditional campus as well. And this modern campus belongs to the RMIT University. Okay. So after, introducing some of the university in Australia, let's have a look into the fee factor, the money factor. All right. So for tuition fee, there are a few factors that will affect influencing the tuition fee in Australia. First of all, of course, it's the group of 8 university versus other university. So just take Monash University and RMIT as an example. If you're taking a Bachelor of Business in Monash University, the annual tuition fee is 47,300 Aussie dollar. Whereas if you're taking the same course in RMIT University, it will going to cost you about 39,360. And it also depends on the type of courses. Let's take University of Tasmania as an example. If you're taking a medicine course in University of Tasmania, the annual tuition fee will be about 75,000 Aussie dollar. Whereas if you're taking Bachelor of Business in University of Tasmania, the tuition fee is about 31,000 Aussie dollar. Then, of course, the duration of the courses will also affect, the amount of money you need to prepare for your study. In Australia, most of the courses are 3 years program. But of course, if you are going for some professional programs such as engineering, 4 years. If you're going for Bachelor of Pharmacy, it's 4 years. Some of the health sciences like physiotherapy, is speech pathology, they are also 4 years. And if you're going for law, it's either 4 up to 5 to 6 years, depends whether it's a single degree or double degree. If you're going for a medicine, dentistry, veterinary science, it can be up to 5 to 6 years. So, the duration of a course, will also affect the total amount of tuition fee you need to prepare to study in Australia. All right. So after talking about the tuition fee, and now we are talking about the cost of living. All right. As per immigration standard, the standard cost of living in Australia is 21,041 Aussie dollar per year. And of course, the living cost will be varied, from city to city. For example, if you're going to a bigger city such as Sydney and Melbourne, then probably you will need to prepare more, which is 25,000 to 27,000 a year. Why? Because, the accommodation in this kind of big city will be more expensive compared to the smaller city. All right. And this living cost is inclusive of your transportation, your food and lodging. All right. And of course, for students that are going to Australia to study, you will need to purchase a compulsory overseas student health cover. And this is basically a medical insurance that to cover you. If you're sick in Australia, you can look for a panel doctor, and most of the consultation fee will be covered. And even though you have to pay, it may be just a small gap fee. Okay, and of course, you will have to pay for your student visa fee. And at the moment, the student visa is about 630 Aussie dollar. And as I mentioned at the very beginning of my slide, one of the advantage of studying in Australia will be students are able to work up to 40 hours per fortnight. Okay, and at the moment, the minimum wage in Australia are $20.33 per hour. So, we always encourage students to pick up some part-time job, especially during their break. This not only can earn you some of the traveling money for traveling, as well as your living costs, it also adds a lot of value into your resume later. All right. So here are some education pathway to Australia. So how can I go to Australia from Malaysia? These are a few pathways. Number one is after your IGCSE. Okay. So students are able to study a pre-university and a degree in Australia. So the minimum duration will be minimum 4 years in Australia. So in Australia, almost all the universities have their own foundation. Okay. So as Dr. Cheng has mentioned just now, if you have a university in mind you really wish to go to, actually you also can choose to do their foundation, because if you meet the required score, you may get a guaranteed entry into their that particular university. Just take University of Melbourne as an example. University of Melbourne is where you want to go to. For example, you would like to do a Bachelor of Commerce. Then you can go to Trinity College to do a University of Melbourne Foundation study. And upon completion and meeting the entry, the minimum requirement, you will get a guaranteed place in the University of Melbourne. Okay, and of course, I mean, some students might think, okay, I may be under 18 and I think I'm too young to go over. Can I go to Australia after the pre-university? Yes, the answer is you can. So basically, I mean, you can go to Australia after your pre-university in Malaysia. So some of the pre-university program that Dr. Chen have mentioned just now is recognized in Australia. For example, the Australian Year 12, such as WAYS, I mean, SAM, and so on. We also accept A-level. If you're continuing A-level in KTJ, A-level is acceptable as well. Then Monash University Foundation Year, Ontario Secondary School Diploma, and also, I mean, IB, these are all acceptable in Australia, all right? And of course, some parents might think that my budget to go to Australia, maybe I can afford about 2 years. So can I still go to Australia? Yes, the answer is still yes. Basically, I mean, student also can study 2 or 3 semesters in Malaysia and then apply for a credit transfer to studying the remaining in Australia. But of course, if you're going through this route, there will be a case-by-case assessment whereby the university will need to assess the study you have done in Malaysia, all right? And last but not least, the student also can go to Australia to study postgraduate after the undergraduate degree. So, okay, so this, let's have a look. I mean, if you would like to study a foundation in Australia, what are the documents you need to prepare? So these are the list of documents that you will need to prepare if you would like to go to Australia and study the foundation. So basically, I mean, you will need to complete the application form. We will need your IGCSE forecast result or actual result. So it depends which point you apply. Basically, most of the colleges, they can accept when you have your IGCSE forecast, all right? We also need a copy of your color scan passport. And we also need a proof of English proficiency. Most of the foundation colleges in Australia, basically, they can accept IGCSE first language and second language. But of course, I mean, always feel free to check with us. I mean, AUG, we can let you know that whether your the subject you've taken is meet the English requirement from the college you're applying. Because I mean, if you're taking second language, certain college may require you to take an additional English test for entry. Okay. And for next, we can see, I mean, this will be some of the procedure. So after you submit it, in Australia, the intake will be February or July. Whereas, I mean, for foundation, it can be January to March. It can be January, February, or March. Depends on which college. And our second intake will be in June. In June or July, if you're looking at foundation, okay? For university, normally it's February or July. This is the 2-month intake. And if you intend to go to Australia to study a bachelor degree, and if you intend to go to do a professional degree, for example, like medicine, dentistry, veterinary science, education, this kind of courses, they may only have a February intake, all right? So once you submit the application, I mean, the university will issue an offer letter. And if your offer letter is an unconditional offer without any condition, then basically the university will require you to pay 1 semester tuition fee and overseas student health cover to accept the offer. All right. And after you accept the offer, the university will issue a confirmation for enrollment. Then we will be able to assist you for the student visa application. Okay. And of course, after you accept the offer, then basically we will proceed to accommodation and travel arrangement. And Australian institution, actually, we do offer a lot of, I mean, different type of scholarship, okay? And firstly, the scholarship which offered by, but these are the few groups that you can see. First of all, of course, the scholarship that offered by Australian institution. The amount of scholarship ranging from maybe 10%, 25%, 30%, 50%, or even up to 100%. It also can be a fixed amount, which is like 1,000, 5,000, 12,000, and so on. So, for example, I mean, University of Western Australia is now offering an undergraduate scholarship up to 12,000 a year. Okay, and most of the requirement to obtain the scholarship will be subject to academic merit, which is how many A's you achieve in your IGCSE, or how many A's or how is your result in your pre-university. Okay, so besides the scholarship offered by the university, student also can look into MACC scholarship, which is offered by the Malaysian Australian Alumni Council. So MACC working with many universities and offer more than 5 million ringgit worth of scholarship. And of course, AUG, we are the administrator of MACC scholarship too. And besides the above mentioned scholarship, then there are also scholarships that are offered by private organization and which the student can look into as well. All right. So next, this is some of the important points to take away. I mean, when you're choosing a course and a right course and a right institution. So always look into the university and faculty strength and ranking. Just for example, I mean, you look interested in this course. Is this course the strength for the university itself? And is this course available in the university you want to study? Because I mean, not all the courses are offered in all university. All right. And next, we have to look into entry requirement. Does your result meet the entry requirement for the particular university? Number 4 is very important, professional recognition. For example, for students, they're studying courses such as medicine, dentistry, law, I mean, quantity surveying, pharmacy, and so on. This kind of courses, basically, they are a professional board in Malaysia, whereby, I mean, to recognize certain university. So when you choose the courses, you have to make sure that the university is recognized in Malaysia so that later after you graduate, you are able to come back and practice. All right. And of course, I mean, you can take into consideration on location as well. As I mentioned, I mean, if you're going to a bigger city, then the living cost will be slightly higher. And next will be your budget and scholarship. Which are the university are able to offer you more scholarship? And is your budget able to fit the full duration in Australia, or you are going to do a partial duration, a partial study in Australia? Timing, which intake, February or July? Like as I mentioned, I mean, some of the professional courses, they may only have a February intake. And last but not least, whether you have a friends, relative, or family in that particular city. For example, I mean, you have someone in Melbourne. So probably you want to go to Melbourne because there will be someone who you can stay with or take care of you. All right. So I guess, I think this is towards the last few slides. Just now, one of the advantages of studying in Australia is the student will have the opportunity to stay back after they graduate. All right. So at the moment, we have this temporary graduate visa, which is a post-study work visa. So for any student that study minimum 2 years and above in Australia, you are eligible to apply for a 2 years post-study work visa. And those study master will get a 3 years, and those study a PhD will be able to apply up to a 4 years post-study work visa. What's more, if you're going to a regional city, what is regional city means you are not going to Melbourne, you are not going to Sydney or Brisbane, you will be able to get another additional year of post-study work visa as well. All right. Okay, so this is AUG Student Services. So I think, I mean, we are the education placement agent, one of the largest. We have 12 offices covering 12 locations in Malaysia. And we represent more than 500 institutions and successfully placed more than 40,000 students overseas and locally as well. And we do represent a lot of different universities, including Australia, UK, Singapore, Malaysia, States, Switzerland, and Ireland. So these are the whole range of services that we can provide, and all of these services are free of charge. So Emma, I think that's my part of presentation. So I pass the time back to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we've got some great questions coming in the chat. So we'll tackle those, but I'm going to abuse my position and ask my questions first. So before we went on air, we were talking about the borders, right? Yep. That's the big question. So what's the latest with the borders?
Okay, from 15th of December 2021, we are glad that the Australia border are finally open. So basically, I mean, now students are able to fly into Australia to study, except for Western Australia. Yeah, so I mean, if you're going to the eastern state, basically you can go in and quarantine is not required anymore. Yeah.
Okay, so all good. So I guess it's just a visa and they go. There's no. Is it all moving smoothly, or is it
at the moment? Yeah, we many of our students already departed. I mean, to Australia. Basically, I mean, there will be a certain procedure they need to do before they depart. For example, they have to apply for Australia travel declaration at least 72 hours before departure, and within the 72 hours of departure, they also need to do a PCR test. Mm-hmm. And of course, each state on arrival they will have they will need to do a testing as well. Some state, I mean, they only need a RTK test. some state they will need a PCR. But so far, our students that arrive in Australia, I mean, not much of issue. They are all safely touchdown and also finally in Australia at the moment. Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's really good news. Okay, so we were talking about our IGCSE students for these programs. What's the pastoral support for students who are young, right? I mean, leaving after IGCSE is a bit different to leaving after A-levels.
Yeah. So for under-18 students, actually, I mean, there's a requirement from immigration that you will need to arrange your welfare. Okay. There's a few ways of arranging the welfare. Now, the first thing is basically, I mean, maybe one of the parents can apply for a student guardian visa and accompany the kid to go to Australia until the student turn 18. That's option number one. There's option number two, whereby, I mean, if the student have a relative in Australia, they also the parents also can nominate one of the relative in Australia, for example, either the brother, the sister, or the uncle or the aunt in Australia, who can take care of him to become his guardian as well. And of course, option number three, if you do not have anyone in Australia and the parents does not want to go to Australia, then the university actually will take charge of the welfare. So basically, each of the university, basically, I mean, they have a procedure, they have a approved under 18 accommodation, as well as either they can act as a guardian, or basically they will engage a guardianship company to engage a guardian for the student. Yeah.
Okay, so there's provisions there to look after them. Okay,
yeah, correct.
So the other question is, our students are doing their IGCSEs in May and June, and they get their results in August. Should they think about applying? And actually, Dr. Chen, this is a question for you as well. Should they just do their exams, get the results, and then apply, or should they start thinking about doing that now?
Yeah, so maybe I go first. For Australia Foundation, basically we can accept forecast result. Yeah, you don't really need to wait for your actual, but of course for students that wanted to wait for actual, you can do that as well. So it's either the forecast or the actual is fine. But of course, bear in mind that if your actual result come in before, I mean, the intake, then the college will need to see your actual result to give you an unconditional offer. Yeah.
Okay, so both of those would be possible. And if you were doing foundation, what was the start date again?
Depends on the colleges. I mean, because different colleges, they have started, but I mean, majority will be from January to March or from June to August.
Okay. Yeah. So they've got time, and if they did it after their results are out, that's also fine.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Maybe good to focus on the IGCSE exams and then paperwork later. Dr. Cheng, are you in? Yes, you're there. Yeah. Oh, no sound. She's gone.
Yeah. It's loading.
Yes, there you are. You're back. So, so the same question to you. For those programs that you talked about, should they apply with predicted grades or wait until the results come out in August?
Great question. Thank you, Emma. Like Ms. Nicole said, you can do both. I would normally advise students to apply with forecast results. Firstly, it shows you where you stand. I find it a motivation as well for students as you prepare for your exams. Just for information, in the IB Diploma Program, the IB organization actually pays for your application to 5 universities. Sorry, not your application, pays for your results to reach. When you get the results, the official results, it will be sent to your top 5 universities of choice. Yeah. So planning ahead always is profitable. Yeah, it's favorable. But if for some reason you really don't know where you want to go, there is no harm in waiting till you've gotten your results. Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, good. So we've had lots of questions in the chat, and I just want to sort of discuss them as a group because I just want to make sure everybody's kind of got those answers. So there's a big discussion going on about the IBDP. How is it structured? Where is it recognized? And the difference with A levels, you know, the narrowness and the breadth. Do you want to just talk a little bit more about that program, Dr. Cheng?
Yes, thank you very much, Emma. And thank you to some of the students who've been asking that question. In the IB Diploma Program, you take 6 subjects. At the same time, most universities look at your top 3 to 4. Yeah, so in a sense, it's not that you have to do excellently well in all your subjects. I think the other question people asked about is this language, why is it that I must do 2 languages? You don't have to do both languages at the same level. The second language is really to promote proficiency in a second language. And hence that might be something interesting, particularly with the world being very global. And I think that's the flavor of the IB program. Some students ask, do I need a full diploma to get to university? Okay, the reality is no. Many universities do consider students who have done the IB program and have not achieved all the criteria that are necessary for you to get the full diploma. So you will have, and I think Ms. Nicole will be a wonderful colleague to guide us a bit more on that, but you don't have to get the full diploma, okay? And I think sometimes parents ask, why is it that, I want to do medicine, so if I take arts, how is that relevant? So just to explain that Group 6, which is the arts component of the IB program, you can swap that arts option, whether it's visual arts or music, whatever your school offers, you could switch that over to another group 4 subject. I think Group 4 are the sciences. So you can take your biology and chemistry or your physics and chemistry. Okay, so it allows for those modifications or customization to your interests. The comparison between A levels and IB is a very good comparison and question. So if you do have more, do let me know. But I hope I've answered your question, Emma.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, for our students for A levels, 3 or 4 is normal. And we also like to do an extended project qualification. So that it's different. From one is quite broad, the other is quite specialized. Anyway, on Friday, we're doing a webinar where we're going to talk just about A levels and my favorite subject, which is EPQ as well. So, so there'll be a good chance for some of the parents who are here and they've heard about IB. Please do join us on Friday, and then we'll be able to contrast those. What about the Muffy program? How does that fit in? There was questions about where is it recognized. Maybe Dr. Chen, you go first, and then Nicole, you talk about how the Muffy program works in Australia.
Great, thank you again. The Monash University Foundation here, because it is a curriculum by a group of 8 universities in Australia. It's a strong university. It is recognized by all Australian universities, and institutions of higher learning, as well as New Zealand universities and institutions of higher learning. There is a student who asked, what about other countries? I'm very pleased to share we've got Muffy graduates in UK, in Singapore, in NUS and NTU, in the United States. My dear students, some of you may have heard of Minerva, all right? And Minerva is a university that's very 21st century. It's got universities across continents. As a matter of fact, you need to move at different stages of your program to different universities in different cities, and that's part of their globalizing you as an international scholar. So it's a competitive university. It's, I would say, as challenging to get a place in Minerva as maybe Harvard or one of the Ivy League universities. And we've got Muffy students who have successfully enrolled into Minerva, for example. So my dear friends, if you're very certain about a university, go into its foundation year. It's just that it's limited when compared to A levels, for example, which we call the global passport. Emma, we call the A levels you offer the global passport, or the IBDP, which is widely recognized. But if you change your mind, it's not a dead end road. There are many options still, so don't worry. Okay.
Nicole, from the Australian end.
Yeah, for Australia, like Dr. Chen has said, because Monash University Foundation is a G8 foundation. So for the G8 foundation, it's recognized by all the university in Australia. But just have to make sure that they take the right subject. Yeah, then it shouldn't be an issue for all the university in Australia.
Okay, great. While we're on Nicole, Meng Yi Chan has had a question about environmental science. Where's a really good university in Australia to do environmental?
There are quite a number of universities they do really good in environmental sciences. For example, like UC of Queensland, UNSW, the UC of Melbourne, ANU, James Cook University, or UC of Western Australia. These are all the top 100 universities in the world. If you're looking at QS ranking by subject. Yeah.
Okay. And is it a good idea to access those courses and universities you're talking about through sort of a diploma program, a foundation program, or A levels, or are they all, do all those pathways lead there?
Yeah, I mean, as long as the PreU is recognized in Australia, no problem. So basically, you can do the Australian Year 12, like, I mean, SAM, OSMAT. You also can do the A level in KTJ, I mean, it's recognized in Australian University. MAFI as well. Yeah. Yeah, these are all recognized in Australia. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we've had a question from Ali Tunio, who I think I teach your two boys, if it's the same person. So he was asking about IGCSEs and A levels. And so all of our students are doing IGCSEs, and then one of the options they could do is A levels, which is on Friday. And then one of the many options we've had here. So what we've done, just for parents, there's a lot of information there, is we've recorded this. We'll put this on our YouTube channel so you can see it again, and over next week and the week after, you've been emailed today. There are appointment slots so you can come and talk to us and we can help you, and I'm sure from some of those meetings we'll be referring you back to Sunway and AUG as well if there's a specific course. So these conversations with parents will be going on for the next few weeks. Yeah. So there was a question about environmental science in different countries, geoscience. I mean, certainly in the UK, you know, the Russell Group universities. So, for example, you know, Southampton's very good for environmental studies. You've got Bath, you've got Bristol, Imperial. So, yeah, I think pretty much any country would have some courses, but do the research so that you've got one that's a credible university. Yeah. Any other questions in the chat? I think we've got them all. I know Dr. Chen was answering some of them as we went along. Yeah, that was about the IB. Yeah, I think those are all the questions. So if there are no more questions, I'd just like to say just a quick sum up. Maybe Nicole, do you want to go first? Just a quick sum up of the best bit about studying an Australian program.
Yeah, of course, I mean, the international reputation, I mean, is there. Basically, we do have a lot of good university in Australia, not only the G8, but also the university in relatively good in the particular subject. And also, I mean, not to forget the 2 years post-study work visa is what we have now. And for students that study in regional city, we can get another additional year. And other than the post-study work visa, also there will be migration opportunity as well if you, if you're doing the right course at the right time as well. Yeah, so they are also close to Malaysia. If anything, say you need to come back, or I mean, just want to come back for a short break and go back. I mean, it's really simple and cheap compared to other countries such as the UK and the States. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what we have. But of course, always come to us when you have any queries about what to study, because we can give you a neutral and also the right options for you, so that, I mean, you can choose the right subject, I mean, to do in your pre-U, or choose the right pre-U before you can to go into the university and the right course that you want to. Because certain times, I mean, student does not know that, I mean, the selection of subject, or they did the wrong pre-U, that end up, I mean, the certain university may not able to accept them because they did not do a prerequisite and things like that. So always come to us, I mean, if you have any question. Yeah. Again, it's that thing about best fit, right? And to know what's the best fit, you've got to have the right information. Yeah. Correct. Okay, so Dr. Che, you showed us lots of courses at Sunway. What are some of the main things people should be thinking about when they're trying to weigh them up?
Great question, Emma, again. I think similar to what Nicole and yourself, Emma, you have said is, my dear students, it's about what brings out the best in you. Okay. For example, I often say, can you picture, you know, Dato' Lee Chong Wei on a squash court and Dato' Nicole on a badminton court? They are both having the racket in the hand, but their skill sets and who they are as a person, you know, determines how well they perform on that court. So some of you may be very good in exams and you'll do very well in A levels. Go for it. You know, you're in the IGCSE program. Fundamentally, you've got that DNA, yeah. Some of us, do better in assignments, in constantly working on small bits of topics that add up together to complete our learning. So then choose a program that allows you that broader range of assessments. I also want to share that there is no right pre-U or wrong pre-U. Every pre-U will develop you. There was a question somewhere that asked, must I do pre-U to get into university? If you are currently in IGCSE, you need a pre-U because the IGCSE is a grade 11. You need the grade 12, 13 equivalent. That's the pre-U to get into university. At KTJ, you have your A-levels as an option. If not, there are the other options I've mentioned to you. But you know what? We don't know what you will be doing when you finish your university degree. There is that cliche statement that goes, tomorrow's jobs have not been created or something like that, which means you could be doing very different things. But what you have gotten from your studies at IGCSE or A-levels or other pre-U and in university allows you to then function and develop further. So I hope that helps. Yeah.
Yes.
Explore, explore, explore. Okay?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And do something that you really, really enjoy. That's the key thing, right? Trying to study anything when you don't like it is pretty miserable. So please, pick something that you really love and you have a passion for. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you so much to Nicole and Dr. Chen for joining us this evening. Thank you to all the parents and the students for joining us. And we really look forward to seeing you hopefully on Friday, parents and students. And also we look forward to meeting you in the one-to-one consultations over the next few weeks. Please do get in touch if you have any other questions. And we'll be sharing this video. And at the bottom, we'll put the links as well to AUG and to Sunway, the Sunway team there. All right. Thank you very much. And good night. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.